This is the one we saw in progress, and we were wondering what it was going to be at the end.
People from all over Nanaimo, both young and senior members of our community, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, are working collaboratively on a quilt that isn't just for providing comfort.
The Reconciliation Quilt Project focuses on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's 94 calls to action, and we're asking people to take and do a quilt square of what those actions mean to them.
The Vancouver Island exhibition applied for and received a grant to go ahead with the quilt project and partnered with the Nanaimo Aboriginal Centre and the Mid-Island Métis Nation.
The reason the VIX mainly came to be involved in this is that we've been here for 124 years and we want to be part of the reconciliation process. And we felt it was our way of giving back to the community, bringing everybody together and trying to heal some of the issues.
Each of the 94 quilt squares represents an individual's interpretation of one of the calls to action.
They're creating a square, and then they're also attaching a narrative to that square to say, this is what I mean, this is what these images represent, or this art represents to me in terms of interpreting that particular call to action.
So I have made 2 squares. One square I've made with the big house post, similar to the other teachings of our looking after our spirit, emotions, mental, physical. I've done that because I feel that the question that was put to me was, what do we need for our people? And there's so much research out there what our people need, but it's right there in our big house that deals with looking after our spirit, emotional, mental, and physical. It's all there. And my other quilt was, I made two trees. One that was nurtured, uplifted, protected, and guided by our noble ancestors and our elders. And the other tree is all dark. And that one is because of the abuse, the neglect, the abandonment, and that.
Students from the Sawak Learning Centre were also given an opportunity to participate, with a goal to creating a greater understanding about this part of Canada's history.
And hopefully it would be a conversation starter, so they would maybe talk with their peers, talk with other students, talk with their families about what it is that they are learning about specific call to action. And I really felt it was something that they could take charge of and spend that time on, and then figure out what it is, what does that mean to them, and what should that mean in terms of an action they can take, or how can they contribute to this. And by building one of the quilt squares, I was really hopeful that it would get them thinking about some of the other calls to action and sort of the big picture around the truth and reconciliation and how we move forward.
We've all heard this old adage before about, it's wonderful to write a report, but if it sits on somebody's shelf, what good is it? So we didn't want it to be sitting on the shelf. We want it to be active and dynamic and part of today's community. So by creating what we hope these 94 conversations, we're hoping we breathe life into that report here in our community.
The finished quilt will be displayed throughout Nanaimo and adjoining communities. For Shaw TV, I'm Annette Lucas.
This is my favorite flute. It has a peace sign on it, and I believe these flutes bring peace to the world. I'm Terry Mack, and I'm passionate about playing these Native American style flutes. I probably have 65 flutes. I got my first flute for Christmas from my husband in 2005. And surprisingly, I could just pick it up and play it. It was like an old friend. It was unusual because I never played an instrument in my life. I just started to listen to the sound of the flute, and the flutes taught me more about listening than anything in my life. As you have to listen with your body, you have to listen to the space around you, you have to listen to the sound of the flute. I call it sculpting and shaping sound. There's a magic to it. You have the energy of the wood, okay, the tree, that's the energy of the tree that goes into that flute. You have the energy of the maker, and then you pick up a flute and you set your intention, and you have your energy, your breath, your story coming through the flute, and it all combines and it just comes out the end of the flute. It's magical for people.
Did you know that Cowichan Bay is the first cheetah slow village in Canada? What is cheetah slow, you ask? Well, it essentially means slow down, savor life. And when you come to this quaint little village, I promise you'll experience it through all of your senses, even your smell.
We are creating all-natural perfumes. So they're plant-based, there's absolutely no synthetics, they are just pure essences of things that are around us. The big thing is that each one has a wild component, which makes it a little bit more authentically local.
And Laurie's muse for her perfumes just happens to be the west coast of British Columbia. You see, she takes a memory or an experience she's had in that place and turns that memory into a scent.
Well, when I was a child, we used to, in the 70s, we used to go to Tofino a lot, and it was that feeling of anticipation as you went down the pathways, and it was moist and fresh and green. The moss was along the side of the paths and the cedars all trodden, and you're getting all these scents. And then in mid-spring you'd have like some wild roses in there. You can hear the ocean, but you can't see it. But it's that scent memory of heading down to the beach. So I took that memory and tried to create a perfume that reminded me of that scent, and then hopefully that translates to other people as well.
And these Wild Coast perfumes are resonating with people. In fact, recently a family visiting from France couldn't get enough of Laurie's Tofino scent.
France is the home of perfume, so it actually made me a little bit nervous when they were here, thinking how are they going to judge the perfumes, but they actually loved them, which was really wonderful. They took them home and then they sent me a message, actually first on Facebook, and then they emailed and said, we're all out. It's the scent of our vacation. We want more, please send us more.
Each perfume is named after a place. There's a Whistler, a Salt Spring Island, a Sunshine Coast, and of course, there's a scent in honor of the Cowichan Rose.
I have Cowichan Rose, which is an ode to the Cowichan Estuary Walk and all the wild roses that grow along the bank there. And I'm coming out with one that's Carmana. I'm just going to be bottling today.
Visitors to Wild Coast Perfumery will not only learn about the art of making perfume, but they'll be able to see Laurie's lab and discover the unique wild ingredients she uses to capture the places of the West Coast.
Well, I use cedar leaf, which is very common in perfumery, so I'm collecting that from the cedar, the western red cedar. Douglas fir spring tips, so in the springtime, when those bright green little buds start sprouting from the Douglas fir tips, I'm using that. They're very citrusy, they're edible, they're great in tea, you can stir fry them, but they smell amazing.
A visit to this seaside perfumery is not only enchanting, but fascinating, because you get to learn how a scent can actually capture a place.
The perfumes seem to trigger emotions with people, and people end up opening up. It's really interesting. So I have met some wonderful people with great stories. This is Douglas fir, this is oak moss, and that's cedar. And basically it's just there for me to use, to measure.
Wild Coast Perfumery truly captures what Cowichan Bay is all about. Slowing down, savoring life, and truly breathing in all the experiences. Stopping to smell the roses, or I should say, the Cowichan Rose. For Tourism Cowichan, I'm Karen Elgersma. Oh yeah, that's a goodie.
If I had to rate myself on a scale of being a professional axe thrower, I'd probably bow out and consider myself a poser. I'm Jackson Middleton. I love to teach people how to throw axes. For me, it's not necessarily about axe throwing in itself. It's about getting together with people and having a great time. Axe throwing just happens to be the vehicle for that.
Clutch right there.
You're just throwing an axe at a wall.
Right.
Don't overthink it. I love to lead groups. I love to take people through, make people laugh. A lot of people ask, do you have to have a beard to throw axes? We say, yeah, probably. You can throw without one, but you're not going to be as good. The demographic of axe throwers is 30 to 45-year-old women with tattoos. If you're a man, there it is, and you're interested in 30 to 45-year-old women with tattoos, they're in axe throwing. And that's the truth, flat out. Axe throwing is a lot of fun because it's primal.
I'm 27 years old and I've never had a cup of coffee. I've gone through university, I've built a house, I've had a baby, and not once have I had a desire to have a cup of joe. So I'm very doubtful that I'll start drinking coffee, but who better to taste test it than myself? We're going to the top 5 coffee locations around the island that you picked, and we'll see which one tastes good, and maybe it'll change my mind. What are the essentials you need to make a good cup of coffee?
I would probably say quality coffee is #1.
There's a lot that can be said for the process of making a cup of coffee, but if you're not using the finest ingredient to begin with, then no amount of artistry and process is ever going to fix that.
Then exacting roasting, then the proper brewing.
You need to have a lot of bubbles on top, and you want to see a little oil slick.
But all those things combined can turn in a little brown dust into something that tastes really great.
We're actually running our own coffee farm in Southeast Asia. So our coffee comes from our own plantation where we grow it. We manage every step of the process, we roast it, and we serve it.
So what kind of blend are you going to serve me?
So this is a salted caramel breve mocha.
It's a good coffee. I don't know if I'd drink it every day, but I could probably have a cup.
We love coffee. Tasting coffee is like tasting wine. My husband and I have been roasting coffee for 20 years. And it's small batch craft work.
Get the extra hot skim milk latte. It's the Buzz Right, probably our most popular coffee that we carry.
Definitely a different taste. Yeah. Maybe bright. Coffees that we've been trying all day today, they're very strong. How do you ever get over that?
Depending on how long you roast a coffee, depends on how long the oils will come out. More oils will come out of the coffee. So that is where you'll get a bitter coffee or a smooth coffee. And this, my girl, is the lavender mocha. Oh, I hope you enjoy it. I think it's something really different. It's something unique that we do here. I make my chocolate from scratch.
I do like this one. This one's really good. You can't even tell that's coffee. That's what I like about it. We're here at Regard Coffee, which is probably the most hipster coffee place I've ever been at.
We're more origin focused, so like where the coffee's coming from. We're not doing much blending, basically trying to highlight the natural flavors of the coffee. I'll show you the Ethiopia that we have on the lineup right now. It's definitely the most like vibrant and exciting that we have, and maybe a little bit different than what you've tried today.
Yeah, definitely different. Definitely like what you said, the kind of like the fruity blend. What is it about coffee that really hooks people in?
Well, I think it's probably the caffeine. But the taste is a taste that you develop a liking for it.
And your wife is going to be making me a cup of coffee, so maybe I'll start becoming a coffee drinker after this. So cheers.
Cheers.
Definitely the vanilla masks the coffee, which I really enjoy.
Yes, there's lots of flavors, but vanilla is my personal favorite. It's the most natural.
We've checked out some amazing coffee places, and they all have their unique take of what makes a good cup of coffee. I'm not sure after this that I'll ever become an avid coffee drinker, but you know, a latte every now and again might not be so bad. For Shaw TV, I'm Rayanne the Plant.
Parksville and Qualicum Beach are well known for their beaches and are a huge draw for tourism in the summer months. With stunning views, even in winter, you'll usually find people out among the shoreline. If you haven't seen it yet, there's a new initiative underway to bring visitors back to the Oceanside area in the off-season in the form of a treasure hunt, and it's called Tidal Treasures Vancouver Island.
So we've started off on a program to develop 21 miles about of our beaches with floats and other things as well to bring the tourists to our community to help our businesses and so forth through the winter season.
Inspired by the Finders Keepers campaign from Lincoln City in the Napa Valley, Robert brought the idea forward to the Oceanside Arts Council, and with overwhelming support, the Tidal Treasures campaign launched in early October.
Some people say it's gone viral, whatever that means for the young people, they know that. But I know that in our first 28 days, we had looks, and I don't know the whole thing, but we had over 220,000 looks.
Facebook is just blown up. I've never seen anything like it. And the communication through it is incredible. Like, people are asking questions. I have to keep going back and looking because there's messages, there's people sharing their finds.
The real crux of it is to try to bring people to the community in the off-season, tourists. And so we're getting people from the mainland, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and so forth, to come, and they spend their time on the beach with their families. And if they don't find it, they still have a great day out there looking. I mean, sometimes getting on the beach for the first time in a long time, they're still enjoying it a lot.
Partnering with several artists across the island, 850 glass pieces are now ready to be discovered. These assorted glass floats, fused and cast items will be randomly placed on designated beaches within the SD69 boundary by the Tidal Treasures volunteer float ferries.
So we really want to get that message across, that we do not go anywhere near people's properties. We have to hide the treasures above the high tide line or on the high tide line because of being glass and our, the winter, the rough weather. We don't want the risk of them washing away or breaking.
We also are trying to be very careful about the environmental impact of this, so that people don't go and pull up the grass and tromp on the very delicate environment. Our ferries are trying to hide them in strategically hidden spots, but not so that you have to move logs around to find them.
You have to be out there trying to think, if I were to hide a float, how would I do it? Where would I put something so that it's not obvious, but yet it is obvious?
And once an item is found, seekers can keep their treasures, share them on social media, and, if it's a float that's found, register it at the tourism office to win an additional prize from local merchants.
The best part of it is people are actually sending us messages and thanking us for getting them and their families out there, and on normally a day when it's pouring down rain, when you'd probably be inside playing video games, they're out there with their kids walking the beaches, and that's really heartwarming.
Tidal Treasures Vancouver Island invites you to get out and seek out the beaches. Information on which beaches to comb is updated daily, so visit their website or follow them on social media for complete information. In Parksville, for Shaw TV, I'm Jocelyn Matwee.
This is my very first costume. I made it for my very first convention. I realized that, oh gosh, I was definitely shoved down that rabbit hole. really fast and hard. I'm Julie Townsend and I make cosplay. I've been cosplaying for about 11 years. Started off small, and this is it. Then I got bigger and bigger, and then I wanted to make a new costume for every day of the convention, so I was making 3 costumes for the weekend, maybe more. Most challenging is this one. It was armor. It's definitely an art form, definitely an expression of who you are. There's always that new shiny new character that you want to see if you can make the costume from. It definitely goes down that rabbit hole hard and fast. And I don't really want to go back because it's too much fun. So much to do.
We could not believe it at first. It was just so amazing to see our hard work had actually it's going to go up in space. We just could not get past that at all.
3 Nanaimo District Secondary School students will have their science experiment carried out in the microgravity environment aboard the International Space Station.
It's called the Student Spaceflight Experiment Program, and it's the brainchild of Dr. Jeff Goldstein. He wanted to inspire students to go further into science, to become researchers.
Over 18,000 students from 31 communities in the U.S., Canada, and Brazil entered the competition, which launched in September. NDSS students initially came up with 50 proposals.
It's real science. It's not reading a book and doing a worksheet. This is where they have to come up with an idea on their own, there's no one's telling them what to do. Something that can be researched in microgravity. They were lengthy, big proposals they had to write, and they had to justify their question, they had to research it, and then they had to go into Google Scholar and get articles that past researchers have written and published and use that as a basis to justify their research, and then write up the citations. myself, I don't think I did that until I was in like 3rd or 4th year university.
We were treated like real researchers, so it was really cool because the whole format, everything was just like a real researcher, so that was amazing.
The proposals were narrowed down to 20, which were considered complete, well-written, and valid. Further vetting cut the number down to just 9, which were submitted to a local review panel at VIU. From that, 3 projects were submitted to the CEP National Step 2 Review Board, which met in early December at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C., who then selected 1 flight experiment from each community.
There were so many good ideas, and as a non-science person, when I read these experiments, I was just really surprised at what students came up with themselves, the research that they've done, and just the ideas behind their thinking and being able to explain it, and being able to conduct the experiment themselves. It seemed beyond them, but at the same time, it just goes to show you what students are really capable of when we expect more from them.
Essentially, our project is we're testing the effectiveness of the drug L-carnitine in inhibiting muscle atrophy. So it sounds kind of complicated at first. Basically, we're just trying this drug which has been proven to help at decreasing muscle atrophy, and we're going to inject it into planaria, which is like a little flatworm, and we're going to see the effects of its retainment.
The students are now in possession of a FME mini lab that they will use to refine and optimize their experiment under strict guidelines over the coming months in preparation for the Mission 12 launch in June.
In the next steps, we just have to do, we're going to run through the whole entire experiment again, and then we're just going to fix any little kinks that the review panel found, and then we'll be set to go and perform it on the ISS.
This is the actual experiment. This is what's going to go up to the space station. It's going to contain a total of 10 milliliters of fluid. With these students, they'll have 1 chamber with a clamp that they'll have their planaria that have been injected with a supplement to see if that will maintain muscle mass. And then after the clamp, they'll have another section of planaria that have been injected with saline as a placebo, and another clamp, and then finally, in the last chamber, a 10% formalin solution to preserve it.
We have the ability to actually help and further research in this area, which is amazing.
They will be getting their data back. They have the opportunity this June 28th and 29th to present their proposal at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., or they can defer it for a year.
Just to be able to actually send something up to the ISS is so huge, and it's just a great opportunity, and actually being able to see the results of our opportunity that we made up, it's amazing.
This is about students. This is about getting students excited about science, hoping to get more students involved in the research aspect. It's about 21st century learning and teaching the real curriculum as well, because students get to do what scientists do. And this is what our curriculum is supposed to be aiming towards, is real life experiences, emulating what happens in real life. And so the students see some relevance in the curriculum.
I think this made me look at science in a different point of view. I never really had the opportunity to do a research paper before and kind of have our own creative control on it, and so I think it's pretty cool to learn about science in a way that we want to learn about it and make all of our own choices on what we choose to investigate.
We just learned so much, and I think we've all grown as researchers, I guess you could call us now, and as people too.
The Student Spaceflight Experiment program is designed to equip students for the 21st century, so they have the thinking skills necessary for engaging in the pursuit of discovery and innovation. They hope to enter the challenge again next year. For Shaw TV, I'm Annette Lucas.
Welcome to Ice Clips. I'm Dan Marshall. Today we're going to get to know new Clippers head coach Darren Naylor. He's only been at the helm a few weeks, but the team already has a great record, and they're already in first place under his leadership in the Island Division. We invited 3 Nanaimo Clippers to see how well they know of their new coach, Tristan Crozier, Brad Belisle, and Brady Lim. Tristan Crozier, how well do you think you know your new coach?
Very well.
Brad Belisle, how well do you think you know the new coach?
Very well also.
Brady Lynn, do you think you know the new coach better than these guys?
Yeah.
Let's start the game. 7 questions, multiple choice, and we're going to ask these Clipper players to write down their answer to multiple choice questions about the coach. All of these are true, starting with number 1.
So I've had a dog for 8 months now. Can you tell me what my dog's name is?
Is it A, tough as nails, B, Willie Naylor, or C, Naily Nailerson? All right, Tristan Crozier, you get to answer first.
Willie Naylor.
Brad Belisle.
Naily Nailerson.
What is the coach's dog's name, Brady Lynn?
Willie Naylor.
The correct answer is?
My dog's name is Willie Naylor.
Crozier won, Belisle nothing, and Lynn won. Question number 2.
The last 2 seasons I've coached in the PGHL. Which team did I coach?
Was it A, Richmond Sockeyes, B, Coquitlam Express, C, Delta Icehawks?
Delta Icehawks.
Brad Belisle, what's your answer?
C. Delta Icehawks.
Brady Lynn, what did you write?
Delta Icehawks.
The correct answer is?
The team I coached was the Delta Icehawks.
All 3 got that one correct. We have Crozier 2, Belisle 1, Lynn 2. On to question number 3.
Before every game, I like to have a favorite drink. What is my favorite drink?
Coke Zero.
The answer is Coke Zero.
Question number 4 with the score, Tristan Crozier 3, Brad Belisle 2, Brady Lynn 3. The 4th question.
In my last season of junior A hockey, what team did I win a national championship with?
Was it A, Vernon, B, Penticton, or C, New Westminster? Tristan Crozier, what's your answer?
C. New Westminster.
Brad Belisle, what's your answer?
A. Vernon.
Brady Lynn?
Vernon.
The correct answer is
the Vernon Lakers.
Brady Lynn 4, Brad Belisle 3, Tristan Crozier 3. On to question number 5.
What is my favorite color?
Is it A, red, B, blue, or C, dark green? Tristan Crozier, what's your coach's favorite color?
C. Dark green.
Brad Belisle, what's the coach's favorite color?
Dark green.
Brady Lynn, what do you think it is?
Red.
My favorite color is red.
Brady Lynn 5, Brad Belisle 3, Tristan Crozier 3, as we move on to question number 6.
Myself and my assistant coach Bob Folietta played together in the Western Hockey League. For which team?
Was it A, the Charlestown Chiefs, B, the Victoria Cougars, or C, the Kamloops Blazers? Tristan Crozier, you have an answer. What's your answer to the team the coaches both played for?
C. Kamloops Blazers.
Brad Belisle, what do you think?
B. Victoria Cougars.
And Brady Lynn?
Victoria Cougars.
The correct answer is?
What is the Victoria Cougars?
Brady Lynn 6, Brad Belisle 4, Tristan Crozier 3, with one more question to go.
I was once a scout in the Western Hockey League. For which team?
Was it A, Brandon Wheat Kings, B, Kootenay Ice, C, Seattle Thunderbirds? Tristan Crozier, what's your answer?
B. Kootenay Ice.
What do you think, Brad Belisle?
B. Kootenay Ice.
And Brady Lynn?
Kootenay Ice.
Everyone said Kootenay Ice, and they were all wrong. The correct answer was?
What is the Seattle Thunderbirds?
Brady Lynn gets 6 out of 7. Brady, congratulations. You know Coach Darren Naylor the best of all your teammates. Today we got to know head coach Darren Naylor. He's brand new to the Clippers, and Brady Lynn does have a bit of a history, so it's not a huge surprise that he won. Fans will get to know the new coach and this Nanaimo Clipper team down the stretch as they look to win first place in the Island Division. For Ice Clips, I'm Dan Marshall.